Friends, it's Pastor Veronica here with a special story time just for you. Just a reminder that every Tuesday and Thursday at 7:30 p.m. we have a story time available for you. It's available on our Facebook page. It's also available on our YouTube channel. Just do a search for Emmanuel Lutheran Killeen and on our website, www.killeenemmanuel.com. You can find all of our stories underneath the videos tab. And if you go to our website, there is a videos tab at the top. And when you click on that, there is an option for all the story times down below. It's a picture of a rocking chair with a pillow on it. And you can find all of our past story times all the way back to March there, as well as the past several weeks worth of our Christmas series of holiday books. And so today is a really fun one. Many of you know that our family is not originally from Texas. We realize that this is actually only our third Christmas here in Texas. And so we are really excited to have another Christmas here in Texas. And when we first moved here, someone gifted us a book called Santa is Coming to Texas. It's written by Steve Smallman and illustrated by Robert Dunn. So I hope you all are ready for this really fun book. There's a lot of familiar places in Texas in here. So if you know these places, listen up and give a little shout out for them. So Santa is Coming to Texas, written by Steve Smallman and illustrated by Robert Dunn. Well, boomed Santa, have all the children from Texas been good this year? Well, mostly, answered the little old elf as he bustled across the busy workshop to Santa's desk. Santa peered down at the elf from behind the tall, teetering piles of letters that the children of Texas had sent him. Mostly, asked Santa, looking over the top of his glasses. Yes, but they've all been especially good in the last few days, said the elf. Jolly good, chuckled Santa. Then we'd better get their presents loaded up. Even though the sack of presents was really, really big and the elves were really, really small, they seemed to have no trouble loading it on a Santa sleigh. Though how they managed to fit such a big sack into one little sleigh, even they didn't know. But somehow they did. Splendid, boomed Santa. We're ready to go. Not quite, Santa, said the little old elf. One of our reindeer is missing. Uh-oh. Missing? Which reindeer is missing? Asked Santa. The youngest one, Santa, said the elf. It's his first flight tonight. I've called him, but... Just then, a young reindeer strolled up, munching on a large carrot. Where have you been? Asked Santa. But the youngest reindeer was crunching so loudly that it was no wonder he hadn't heard the little old elf calling. Oh, well, never mind, said Santa, giving the reindeer a little wink. He took out his Santa nav and tapped in the coordinates for Texas. This will guide us to Texas in no time. And the reindeer is going, crunch, crunch, crunch. Yum, I love carrots. Sounds like he does too. With a flick of the reins and a jerk of the harness, off they went racing through the sky. Ho, 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 laughed Santa. We'll soon have these presents delivered to the Lone Star State. Santa's sleigh flew through the starry night, heading south across the Arctic Ocean. On they flew in the crisp wintry air, crossing over Canada. In the wink of an eye, the sleigh was flying above Oklahoma, and then over Fort Worth. The youngest reindeer was very excited. He had never been away from the North Pole before. They were just nearing Round Rock when suddenly they ran into a thick fog. Mist swirled around the sleigh. They couldn't see a thing. The youngest reindeer was getting a bit worried, but Santa didn't seem concerned. In 2 miles, said the Santa nav in a bossy lady's voice. Keep left at the next star. But ma'am, Santa blustered, I can't see any stars in all this fog. Soon they were hopelessly lost. Then through the foggy blanket, the youngest reindeer heard a faint ringing sound. Ding dong, ding dong, ding Ding dong. He looked over at the old reindeer with the red nose, but he had his head down. Red nose? I wonder who that could be. Ding dong, ding dong, ding dong, ding dong. There was that sound again, like church bells ringing. The youngest reindeer turned around to look at Santa, but Santa wasn't listening. He seemed to be arguing with the little box with buttons on it. With a flick of the harness and a jerk of the reins, the youngest reindeer gave a sharp tug and headed off toward the sound of the bells, pulling Santa and his sleigh behind him. Whoa, cried Santa, pulling his hat straight. What's going on? Then, to his surprise, he heard the ringing sound. Well done, young reindeer, he shouted cheerfully. It must be the University of Texas Tower. Don't worry, children, Santa is coming. Then, suddenly, crunch! The sleigh hit something as it plummeted through the fog. You have arrived, said the Santa Nav unhelpfully. Finally, when the fog had lifted, Santa discovered exactly where they were, stuck right at the very top of the dome of the Texas State Capitol. Everybody pull! The reindeer pulled with all their might until at last, with a screeching noise, the sleigh scraped clear of the dome and Santa steered them safely past the Paramount, over the Congress Bridge, around the Umlauf, and down into Zilker Park. Luckily, there was no real damage done, but the packages had all been jumbled up. Santa quickly sorted the presents into order again. All right, said Santa. Thanks to this young reindeer, I know where we are now. Don't worry, children. Santa is coming. Santa drove his sleigh expertly from rooftop to rooftop all over Texas, popping in and out of chimneys as fast as he could go, which was pretty fast for a chubby fellow. There were big chimneys in Amarillo and small chimneys in Houston. He squeezed down thin chimneys in San Antonio and plummeted down fat chimneys in Fairview. The youngest reindeer was amazed at how quickly they went. Santa never seemed to get tired at all, and it looked like the children in Texas were going to be very lucky this year. But the youngest reindeer was starting to feel a bit weary and quite hungry too. In house after house, Santa delved inside his sack for packages of every shape and size. He piled them under the Christmas trees and carefully filled up the stockings with surprises. In house after house, the good children of Texas had left out a plate of cookies, a small glass of milk, and a big, crunchy carrot. Santa took a little bite out of each cookie, a tiny sip of milk, wiped his beard, and popped the carrots into his sack. From Dallas to Laredo, from El Paso to Austin, from Pecos to Galveston Island, and all the places in between, Santa and his sleigh visited every house in Texas. Santa delivered presents to Andrew, Allison, Anna, Arabella, Archie, Ashley. The list went on and on. Zach, Zara, Zeb, Zoe, Zibble. Zibble? That must be a spelling mistake, surely. Finally, Santa had delivered the last present on his long Texas list. Great moons and stars, sighed Santa. It's past midnight, and my sack seems as heavy as ever. I hope I haven't forgotten anyone. Santa opened his sack to check, but it was full of juicy, crunchy carrots. Santa divided the carrots among all the reindeer. Well done, he said, patting the youngest reindeer gently on the nose. But the youngest reindeer didn't hear him. He was too busy munching. Then it was time to set off for home. Santa reset his Santa Nav once more to the North Pole, and soon they were speeding over Dallas through the crisp, starry night. Ho, 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 laughed Santa. Merry Christmas, Texas. The end. Isn't it fun to hear a silly story about Santa and his reindeer and all these fun places to visit in Texas? Which place do you think is closest to where you live? I know I heard Round Rock and Austin, and they're both pretty close to where we live here in Killeen, but maybe you live further away. Well, if you get a chance to check out this book, it's called Santa is Coming to Texas. It's written by Steve Smallman and illustrated by Robert Dunn. Whenever you go to sleep, I hope that you sleep well. And remember, God loves you, and so do I. Good night, friends.